I'm Ale with West Houston Studios, and today we have a special guest for our Behind the Scenes with Ale podcast. I'd like to introduce you guys to the one and only Brian Lisenby of Yellowgrass Music. How's it going, sir?
I'm good, man. Good, Ollie. Appreciate you having me here, man. I feel like that, I've made it to the top now that I've made your podcast. Now I could check that box of to-do list. You know what I mean? So I appreciate you, man.
Who you telling, Brian? I'm feeling Hollywood right now because you came all the way from New Mexico so that we could do this podcast, and we got a music video that we're shooting tomorrow, so we feeling good, man. Again, I appreciate you for coming out. But before we get started, is there anything you'd like to share with the audience as far as who Brian Lisenby is?
Yeah, I'll give you a little brief history about me. I was born and raised in a small town of South Alabama called Bruton, Alabama, about an hour north of the Pensacola, Florida. We were right there on the Florida line. And I was raised there, went to school there, and that's kind of where my music journey started. I mean, I got involved in, playing the guitar, writing songs, and that's what led me going about 6 hours north up I-65 to Nashville, Tennessee to pursue that dream, and here I am.
Man, so were you self-taught? Instruments,
Yes,
or?
self-taught. I grew up with my family, was very musically inclined. I had some uncles that played guitar. We'd sit out there at my grandparents on Sunday afternoon, and they would be playing gospel music and 3 or 4 guitars going at the same time. And man, I was just really taken into that and said, hey, that's what I want to do. And that's kind of how that's how the guitar, the love of the guitar started, was during those times.
Man, so how old were you when you first picked it up?
So I really didn't start playing seriously. I had a couple of guitars, through my childhood, but when I got around 17, that is when I really started getting serious and playing the guitar, writing songs. I knew that that's what I wanted to do, and I just couldn't get enough of it. I played the guitar. I would wake up when I was first learning how to play those few chords, I'd wake up in the middle of the night, grab the guitar, strum it, put it back down, and just couldn't get enough of it till, I learned how to play it the way I wanted to play it. I had a couple of songs that I wanted to play, and man, I just kept at it till I learned those songs.
That's beautiful, man. Well, how long would you say you've been in the music industry now, and what was it that got you started?
So I went to Nashville the first time probably around 1998, 1999. You probably wasn't even born yet during
Nah,
that
man.
time.
I was 4 years old in '98, man.
But that's when I started getting involved in recording and songwriting and, learning Nashville, Music Row, the music business. And but the love of music started way before that. I remember watching Elvis Presley as a kid, his 68 comeback special, a rerun, of course. But man, I was just in awe of his stage presence, and he held the people in the palm of his hand when he was on that stage, and I was like, man, that's what I want to do. I'm a big Elvis fan. I share the same birthday as him, January the 8th, and he was a big influence, and also just music, the songs. I remember also, being young, 6, 7 years old, and hearing "He Stopped Loving Her Today" by George Jones, which I'll probably mention his name numerous times through this interview. But being that young, but realizing what the song was actually talking about, and what it meant. And as I got older, I reflected on that and thought, there probably wasn't too many kids, 6 or 7 years old, sitting there dissecting "He Stopped Loving Her Today" and actually knew what the song was talking about. But that's how the music spoke to me, and I could feel it, and it's still the same to this day. I just love how to read and how the songs come about from these songwriters and these artists, and it's a big part of what I do.
That's awesome, man. So let me ask you this. When you first hit the scene, did you hit the scene as an artist, or have you always been more on the songwriting side?
Well, they kind of flip-flop. So I started out really wanting to be, to be an artist, like probably every songwriter. has the dream of wanting to be on this limelight, be in the limelight, be on the stage, and feel all that emotion of the crowd and everything. That was my drive, and that's what I wanted to do. But as the years went on, I realized, I love the songwriting part. I think more than I do the performing part, and so all of the attention that I was given on the artist at the time, back in the '90s, Tracy Lawrence was a huge influence of mine. A lot of the '90s artists, Tracy and Tim and those guys are really coming on strong. And I've been fortunate enough to meet those guys a couple of times over the years, and that's what I wanted to do. But then it switched over to the songwriters. The way that I felt being around, getting to meet Tim and Tracy and them. Then I had that same feeling when I was getting to meet people like Craig Wiseman and Jeffrey Steele and Jimbo Henson, and I was like, man, those were the people I really looked up to, and I've pretty much just been doing that ever since.
That's beautiful, man. What artist was it that you first, or what the first artist that you wrote for, and what was that process like?
So, you really don't, you have in your mind that you're going to write a song for an artist, and then once you start pitching your songs to Nashville, then they'll have other plans for, oh, that guy don't need to cut that. We got somebody that wants, else in mind. I had a song that I had wrote that I really wanted Alan Jackson to sing, and it wound up going to a couple of other people and didn't really have a huge success with it, but Alan was a guy that I wanted to sing that song, and it just didn't work out that way. But now the songwriters that I was mentioning a while ago, I met Jimbo Henson at the Frank Brown Songwriting Festival in Gulf Shores, Alabama in the '90s. And when I met him, Jimbo had a big song out. He had the biggest song out at the time that he had co-wrote with David Lee Murphy. And actually, David Lee Murphy had the #1 song with it, recorded it, called "Tonight I'm Looking for a Party Crowd." So I met Jimbo there at that festival, and we had a mutual friend by the name of Rusty Golden, which we've lost Rusty within the last year. He had just a heart attack and left this world, but he was a friend of mine, and so was Jimbo. And Jimbo had a massive stroke that he just didn't come back from a couple of years ago. So we've lost both of those guys, but we had a mutual connection, friendship with Rusty. And Rusty is also the son of William Lee Golden of the Oak Ridge Boys, the mountain man. He's got the long,
so damn near everybody's connected.
The long beard, yeah. And I don't really, when I get to talking about these stories and old times, I really think about how it really is connected like that. And I don't really think about that till I talk about it like this. But so we had that mutual friendship, and Jimbo was gracious enough to take me in and invite me up to his farmhouse in Clarksville, Tennessee, just north of Nashville. He had a nice spread up there, and we actually wrote some songs together there at the table that him and David Lee wrote, "Tonight I'm Looking for a Party Crowd," which Jimbo had a lot of songs, man. That one, Hillbilly Highway with Steve Earle, Fancy Free for the Oak Ridge Boys, and actually Fancy was his mother's name. A lot of people don't probably know that, but that's where he got the idea to write the song from. But Jimbo was the first songwriter to take me in and give me an opportunity to write some songs with him. So.
What was that like at the time? Was it like you guys were in the studio writing from scratch, or was it you were home?
So actually, we was at his house. We was at his house. He had his writing room, and it was my first professional songwrite. And I was nervous as a cat, man. I'm thinking here, I already knew his history of what he has written, and his background, and he even won the. Oh, it used to be an old show called Star Search. I don't know if you remember that. But back in the '80s, there was a show come on called Star.
Showing my baby age right now.
And he actually won that.
Man.
And so I was very intimidated, and he said. He said, Brian, he said, so tell me about yourself. He said, tell me about yourself. Let's talk about things that's important to you, or things that you would like to do that you haven't done yet, or just what do you have going on in your life?
That's kind of how you broke the ice.
Yeah, that's how we broke the ice. And me, I was working all the time. And, I said, Jimbo, I said, man, I work from can to can't. I work, 7 days a week, and I'm trying to make a living and support a wife and 2 kids, and I'm also trying to pay the bills, and I'm trying to get in the music business, And I said, I feel like I'm doing everything for everybody else, but I don't have enough time for me, So you know what the title of the song was that we wrote? It was called Me. That was the name of it. Me.
Man.
And it started out, a few of the lines that started out with the song was, me might be just a 2-letter word. It's the last on the long list that never gets heard. And that's how the song started. And another thing about Jimbo is, for any aspiring songwriters that's coming up, that's out there watching this, Jimbo, he didn't play an instrument. He didn't play guitar, piano, any instrument, but he was a poet and a lyricist. And he knew how to put words together. And so just, give somebody, a word out there that if they think they can't make it as a songwriter because they can't play an instrument, you don't have to play an instrument. And Jimbo is living proof of that.
Man, I love that. I appreciate you for sharing that, because I always tell the artists that I'm working with, because a lot of the stuff that I do to this time is self-taught. I've had some mentors and everything, but I can't say like music theory, notes, playing any instruments. No.
Right.
I've written. I've used my vocals before too, but everything's been self-taught. So like you said, man, I mean, it's just a matter of, is this something that you want to do?
Yeah.
And then do it.
Yep. And just keep doing it. I mean, do it as much as you can. I mean, the more you do it, the better you're gonna get at it. So
keep sharpening the blade.
Just keep doing it. Just
Practicing
keep sharpening that pencil, and keep buying more paper. Yep.
So I mean, you've been doing this since '98, man. We're talking about 27 years strong. There's a lot of people that get discouraged, a few years in the beginning. What was that like for you? Did you, in the early years, like you mentioned, you were working 7 days a week, trying to support a wife, 2 kids. I'm sure there were times that were difficult that you were like, I'm just going to let this go. What was that like?
I'm still doing that, I mean, I wish I could say that I'm doing music full time, and I'm not. I'm still trying to get there. I'll never quit, and I never give up, but I'm closer today than I was yesterday. And yesterday I was closer than I was a year ago, right? But when you have that drive and that fire inside of you with music, you just don't ever give up. And eventually, not saying that it will work out, but eventually you will be put in a situation in front of somebody that it can, right? And be prepared when that moment comes. Many times I've been discouraged. I remember, talking about working 7 days a week. I remember getting off working graveyard shift on Friday night, and getting off Thursday night, and getting off Friday morning, and going home, taking a shower, throwing the bag in the truck, and driving 6 hours, and pounding the concrete up and down Broadway in Nashville and Music Row, and hitting every open mic I could hit, writing with whoever I could write with, knocking on publishing company doors, knocking on record label doors, And most of the time you knock on those doors, you're not getting in. They're not going to let you in. You might get lucky on a few publishing companies, but the record label doors you can about forget. And it's a big, not what you know, but who you know town. Very, very cliquey. And you just about have to know somebody. But that's the thing also in Nashville. Everybody knows everybody. So you may meet the person at McDonald's that's taking your order, may be the brother-in-law of the lady that's working the front desk at RCA Records or something, you know. So there's always a connection there in Nashville. I have a cousin. His name's Larry Shell, and he was a professional songwriter. He's retired now from the music business. Well, he was last I talked to him. And he had a very successful career in the music business. One of the biggest songs that he had, he co-wrote with a guy by the name of Larry Cordell. And it was called Murder on Music Row, which was cut by George Strait and Alan Jackson. And the song really raised some eyebrows, because what the song was about was the death of country music. That Nashville executives were killing country music because they was taking the steel guitar and the fiddle and the country out of the country music, and a lot of people didn't like that. But it went on to be a huge song. I'm sure it made him a lot of money. It's probably why he's retired now. One of the reasons. But he told me something one time I never forgot, and it kind of puts everything in perspective. He said, Brian, I'm going to give you an example of what you're up against. Because he knew my situation. He knew that, you know, I was working 7 days a week, living paycheck to paycheck. It was very hard for me to get to Nashville. It was just hard for me to pay the bills at the time. And it was would have been hard for me to uproot and just move to Nashville and start over. I just about couldn't do it, you know, and that's why I didn't. And but he said, say, for example, there's 1 million people that lives in Nashville. Well, 999,000 of those people are wannabe professional singer, songwriter, musicians, or be in the music business, and they're here and you're not.
Man.
And that's what you're up against. Now, that was then. And Nashville still holds its place where it is, you know, country music capital of the world, and it's still a very important city to be in and visit and network. But now with all of these new, you know, social media outlets with TikTok and Facebook and all these music platforms, it's opened the door where you don't have to be in Nashville. It's still got to be a lot of luck behind that for you to make it that way. But it's possible where back in those days it wasn't. You had to be in Nashville, or you had to be in Los Angeles, or you had to be in New York. You had to be in those cities or you wouldn't make it. Well, now times has changed. So it's not the same anymore.
Gotcha. Let me ask you this, man, because we're talking about the rise of social media and how that has helped artists. When I first started in music, MySpace was still around, and I want to say that's like the first social media that really catapulted a bunch of artists. What was that like for you at the time with the artists that you were working with?
Oh man, I was so excited when because that started it. MySpace opened the door for everything to where we're at now. And it just gave me more opportunity to get my songs out there and have my recording songs where I could send through email, where I didn't have to send a tape or send a CD or send it through the mail hoping they would open the envelope, with my song in it. Now I can send a direct email of the song and know that they got it, or at least know that they opened
it's there.
it. And so it gave me a little bit more hope, that, hey, this is just one extra tool that I can use to help get my foot in the door.
Hey, so at the time, were you digging for people's names on MySpace and just shooting them messages?
I did, and I tell you, so there, and it's kind of, just how you mentioned a while ago, how it's a small circle and everything's come together. I'm sure this name is going to tie into something we'll probably talk about later. But there is there's a songwriter / music producer by the name of Roger Murrah that is in Nashville. And Roger had huge success as a songwriter. Wrote so many songs I can't even count #1 songs. One of my favorite songs that he wrote was "Goodbye Time" for Conway Twitty. He wrote a lot of songs for Conway Twitty. He co-wrote Waylon Jennings' autobiography book. Waylon personally reached out to him and said, "Hey, I want you to write my life story or help me write it." So back to MySpace, I had, I didn't have a staff at the time. I don't have a staff now. It's all me. But sending emails and making phone calls and contacts, and I knew a few people in the business, and that kind of gave me a little edge than some that was in my position. And so I got his email, and it was on a Thursday night, like at 9:30 at night. And I was on MySpace, checking my songs and seeing how many views and that stuff I've had on my playlist I had there. And I said, I'm going to send Roger Murrah an email and ask if I can submit him some songs, because that's the thing. You gotta, if you just send somebody, anybody in Nashville or Los Angeles or whatever, a song just out of the blue without getting their permission for the submittal, they're not going to listen to it. And so I said, what the heck, I'm going to shoot him this email. I know he probably won't never get back to me, but I'm going to take a chance. And I sent it, and as soon as I hit the send button about, hey, Roger, hey, this is Brian. My name's Brian Lisenby, yada, yada, yada. I went on blowing a bunch of smoke, And he replied right back. He said, send me a song. I was like, what? Roger Murrah wants me to send him a song. I can't believe it. So I sent him a song. And then he said, he wrote me right back and said, send me another. So I sent him another. And this went on one more time. He said, send me one more song. I sent him 3 songs. And by this time, it's like 10:30 at night. And he said, can you be at my office in the morning?
Sheesh.
I said, and I had to work the next day.
So yeah,
I said, yes, sir, I'll be there. And he said, be there around 10 o'clock, which I'm glad he said 10 o'clock, because it's a 6-hour drive, So I called my boss. I said, I ain't going to be at work in the morning. Told him why. And I was sitting in the parking lot of his office whenever he got there the next morning. So sometimes it does work that way. You get lucky, and they may be having a boring night or just up and can't sleep, and usually probably in their right mind they wouldn't ever say send me a song, but it just looked out where he said just so happened send me one.
Man, but at the same time, I mean, it goes to show you miss every shot that you don't take. You shot your shot anyways when somebody else maybe wouldn't have done so. And then you had to make a sacrifice of missing work the next day, potentially putting yourself in a bad spot there to make this happen, which is a great segue. Besides that, what other sacrifices would you say that you can remember, like, man, hopefully everything goes well, but I'm just going to do it because this is a great opportunity for me to take?
Well, the sacrifices were, once again, going to Nashville when I didn't have the money really to go. It was like, okay, am I going to Nashville this weekend, or am I going to pay the light bill?
Oof.
Am I going to go, or are we going to pay whatever, the car note or whatever? So that's what it had gotten for me. And, because I knew that, I was real close. I was being noticed by people like Roger Murrah on the story I just told, and And there was a couple other, situations kind of similar that happened that I knew that, okay, if I'm getting these guys' attention, then surely I'm going to get somebody else's attention, right? Because these were some of the biggest people in town and most successful when it comes to songwriting. And if I'm catching these guys' ears, then I need to up my game and I need to go more, and do more. But doing that, I was sacrificing some things back home, as well. So it was
If you don't mind me asking, man, because we're talking about this. You're talking about sometimes I'm like either go and try to run this play or pay the light bill, pay the car note. What were those conversations like with your wife at the time?
She supported me. I mean, because she knew that how driven, and not always, even before we met. I was already driven that way in the music. That's what I wanted to do. But she supported. Now, she wasn't supportive every time. We divorced now, so that that could have that didn't have anything to do with it. But she was supportive, and for the most part, there were times where there was conversations. I don't think you need to go this weekend, and and no man likes to be told no. Nobody like to be told no, you can't do something. But for the most part, yeah, she was real supportive about it.
Awesome, and I mean that makes a difference. I'm sorry to hear, but like you said, unrelated, whatever. So fast forward now, you know what I mean? 1998 to now, you had all these different opportunities that you've been a part of, these different songs that you've been a part of, these different artists that you helped break. What inspired you to open Yellowgrass Music, and what are your goals for Yellowgrass Music?
So when I was really spending a lot of time in Nashville, going to the publishing companies, I really when I mentioned earlier, it's not what you know, but who you know. I had the opportunity to surround myself with people that were really in the know in the music business. I got invited to a lot of events that I wouldn't have been able to go just by myself if it hadn't have been for me, them dropping my name or me dropping their name. And I still do a lot of name dropping even to this day with people, but just to open a door. But I had met, like for example, I met this guy. He's an attorney in Nashville. His name is Derek Crownover. He's one of the key players in Nashville when it comes. Very powerful man in not only music business. He's an entertainer lawyer. He represents songwriter Craig Wiseman. Craig had a publishing company, Big Loud Shirt Music, which was very successful. And Craig was a huge songwriter himself, one of the top writers in town. Wrote half the stuff Kenny Chesney's got out. Wrote "Live Like You're Dying" for Tim McGraw, "I Believe" for Brooks and Dunn, "Summertime" for Kenny Chesney. I mean, list goes on and on. And very successful. And he sold. I was getting to hang out there, due to the connection with Derek, and because Derek was his attorney. And since then, Craig, he sold that publishing company, and now he's the owner of Big Loud Music, which has got a artist signed to his label by the name of Morgan Wallen. I don't know if you ever heard of Morgan, but he's like one of the most famous entertainers in the world right now. And
That's beautiful.
So being around and seeing that environment, and that was my environment. That is what I wanted to do. That's what I still want to do to this day, and surround myself with being able to, help not only myself but another aspiring songwriter that has some good songs. We try to get them in the hands of the right people, right, and to help them get where they need to be. And that's when I got the idea that one day I wanted to have that for myself. and that's kind of how the Yellowgrass music came about. And really and truly, within the last year, it really just started taking shape. I've had that name for a few years now, but I just had it. I had it registered with ASCAP. Couldn't nobody else get it or take it. But within the last year, I've got it where it's LLC. It's legit now, and so I'm pitching songs, and I'm trying to get there.
Yes, sir. Man, so let me ask you this. Now going back to the fact that you've been doing this a long time, and then you established Yellowgrass Music. We're trying to make a stamp on the industry. You've wrote on various different genres. Most recently, you written for a hip hop song, and you mentioned it was the first one, right?
Yes.
How do you navigate the space between different genres?
Well, I love music. I love all music. I'm not just country. I mean, man, I love country music. I love rock music. I love hip hop music. I talk about the '90s a lot. To me, '90s was a great decade of music. Country, with, like I mentioned, Tracy Lawrence and Tim McGraw, Mark Chestnut, all those guys coming out, and then we had Tupac and all those guys, and the rock, we had Motley Crue and Guns N' Roses, and still in the early '90s, and I just, I take all that in and kind of put it together and write some stuff. But the hip hop song, tell you how that come about. I went home one night. I was at home one night watching MTV Cribs.
Sheesh.
Okay, and it was a hip hop night, and they had these hip hop artists on there, and they were showing their houses and their cars and everything.
Ice everywhere.
Ice everywhere, man. Yeah, and I was like, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it, and that's what started the idea of Ladies Man. If you notice, Ladies Man has kind of got a somewhat of a '90s vibe to it a little bit,
I get that, yeah.
And because I love
That was
that,
the inspirations.
I love that era of music, man, and I just tied that in. But back to Derek and Craig, we were at Craig Wiseman puts on TJ Martell Foundation. It's a charity event that he has every year. And so I got invited a couple of times, and one year we were there, and this the top songwriters there in town and people in the music business, and they have an open bar. I mean, it's a real good time, and Craig usually gets up there and closes it out. And I haven't been in a while, so I don't know how, if I'm sure he's still doing it, but I don't know how he has it set up now. But I'd done a couple of my songs, and then Derek said, "Hey, why don't you do your Ladies Man?" I was like, "What?" He said, "Yeah. Hasn't nobody done no hip hop song all night, and everybody's up there doing number one. Them songwriters up there doing number one after number one after number one country song, and then here I am, don't have a number one, but I'm still up there singing my country songs that I did have written or some of my stuff. And then all of a sudden he says, "Hey man, do your Ladies Man." So I thought, "What?" And he said, "Yeah." So I said, "All right." So I said, "You sure?" He said, "Yep, do it." So I get up there and I got my guitar, everybody's playing the guitar, and I get up there in a round, there'd be like 3 or 4 songwriters up there on the stage, and I take my guitar and put it in my guitar case and set my guitar case on my lap, and everybody's like, "Well, what are you doing, man? What's going on here?" And so then I get to beating on my guitar. I'm doing a beat on my guitar case, and here I go right into Ladies Man. And when I come off doing it, there's a guy waiting on me. And he's with Disney, and he gives me his card, and I guess he thought that I was affiliated with Craig, which I wasn't. But he's like, "If Craig doesn't cut that, you call me," and he gave me his card. Long story short, it was an open bar, and it was a late night that night, and I lost the guy's card. I don't know whatever happened to it, but Craig didn't cut it, and I couldn't remember the guy's name that gave me the card. So I'm hoping maybe when we get this video out and he gets this, he's gonna remember it. You know what I mean? So.
And so, how long would you say that you've had Ladies Man written?
Man, I've had Ladies Man probably. I probably wrote that song probably 15 years ago.
Wow,
Yeah,
man, I am honored, man.
yeah.
15 years ago. 15 years ago is almost more or less around this time that I got started. I got started when I was 13, so like 17 years ago. That's crazy.
Yeah. And as you know, and you hear these songs, there's been numerous songs that, have been, the first one that comes to mind was the Oak Ridge Boys with Elvira. Elvira was a big hit for the Oak Ridge Boys, probably one of the biggest songs they ever had, and they've had a lot of them. But that song was wrote way before they ever cut it, and there's been numerous situations like that where older songs, somebody gets a hold of it, and then all of a sudden it wasn't, nobody wanted anything to do with it 20 years ago, but now it's the biggest song in the world.
Yeah, definitely could be timing.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's listening, again, don't feel discouraged. You got songs that you're writing. You may not immediately do something with that song right now. Don't give up on it. Save that. Make sure you're keeping your notes, your notebooks, wherever you're keeping them, keep them safe. Because you may be re-inspired 15 years from now to cut a record from 15 years ago that you don't even remember, maybe.
Absolutely.
Now, you did have one music video that got Male Music Video Award of the Year. It was called "Is It Going to Take a Miracle?"
Yes.
Tell me about that song.
So, man, that is it's hard to say that I have. It's hard for a songwriter to say, okay, somebody asks, what's your favorite song that you've ever written? It's hard to put a name, throw that name out there, a title to the song. But this one will have to rank up there in that category with me because of the response and that I've got over the years with that song. The song is about somebody going through a hard time, whether it be a failed marriage or a relationship, a death or alcoholism or drug addiction or any kind of other addiction. You know better to be doing what you're doing, but you can't stop. You can't stop, and you need some divine intervention to pull you out of it. And that's what the song is about. And the guy that cut it, I didn't even know the song. So a quick story about that. I wrote that song, and I had a friend of mine named Danny Ray Harris that cut that song on just a demo. I wasn't doing anything with it. He just wanted to record it and play it around in churches and stuff like that, or wherever he was performing, because he was doing festivals and everything at the time. It's just not a church song. You could play it anywhere, but it could be played in church. And I get this call one day from him. He's like, "Hey, man, this guy cut your song and he's got it out on Facebook?" And I was like, "What?" And so I get to doing some research, and I find out and get up with a guy, and I call him. His name's Mark Ware, cool guy. And I get up with him, and he's like, "Hey, man," I tell him, I say, "Hey, Mark, I'm Brian Lisenby. I'm the songwriter of It's Gonna Take a Miracle, the song that you've got out right now." And he was like, "Man," he said, "I'm so glad you got up with me." He said, "We didn't know who wrote this song. We knew that if the person even wrote it was still alive, that they would reach out to me or get up with me and my company, and so we can do it legit." And he said, "But let me tell you about that song." He said, "Man, well, I heard this song on a demo that somebody had." Now, he's in Georgia. Now, Danny never, released any of that stuff. So I don't even know how he got a copy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. How do you hear
it? And he said, "But let me tell you about my situation." He said, "I lost my teenage daughter in a car wreck." And he said, "Man, I become an alcoholic. I was having all kind of crazy thoughts and everything." And he said, I heard your song. And he said, "Man, it changed my life." Wow. And he said, "That's probably one of the only reasons that I'm still here today is because of that song."
That's powerful.
And so, when somebody tells you something like that, of something that you've written and how it's affected their life, man, whether that song ever does anything, to me, it's already done everything. You know what I mean? And I've heard he's not the only story that I've heard that how that song has had some kind of effect on somebody's life, and I'm just thankful that they heard it.
And that's really what it's about at the end of the day, man. Because this art is self-expressive, and it could make a difference in somebody's life, a very positive difference. Especially like in a case like that. For all we know, he was on some like suicidal thoughts after dealing with some hardships like that, and for a song to be that strong to like pull you out of it and get you re-inspired, like I think at the end of the day, that's what a lot of artists are doing it for.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
money's great and all,
not
but-
only am I just thankful that they heard it, I mean, I'm thankful that God gave me he put the song,
through you, man.
spoke through me to do it, I mean, so yeah, that's that's a great feeling to hear a story like that, and and it makes me feel accomplished no matter whatever happens going forward with me in music. To me, it don't get no better.
Now back to what you said. He cut the song. You didn't even know him. You found out through somebody else, and then you reached out to him. Now in today's time, people do something like that. I want to say 90% of people are heated.
Oh yeah, well I'm gonna tell you now. When I first heard that, I was a little heated myself because it's just like you're saying, right? Anybody would be, and but then, Mark was, and he still is. Mark, he's doing some things. He has a lot going on. It wasn't like he had a big record deal, or at the time he was independent, and he's still independent. But he's doing the right things, and he's surrounding himself with the right people. He's got things going in the right direction for him. But at the time, I didn't know him. I didn't know his story. I didn't know his background. I didn't know who he was affiliated with, or any of those things. So. I didn't want to think that I was, being taken advantage of, and that's the first thing that come to mind. But once we talked and everything was squared away, and he went in after our conversation and recut the song. Went in and done a great recording. Is in Nashville, had the top players on it, some of the top players, and done a great job on the recording of it. And it wound up winning, the USA Video of the Year in Atlanta, Georgia, and he done a great job. They done a great video of it. And if you watch the video, if you go to Mark Ware on YouTube, Mark Ware is going to Take a Miracle, and watch the video. The video kind of goes through the story that I just told, from his struggles with alcohol to him getting baptized, to him at the end of the video standing by the headstone of his daughter, and a very powerful video. But
I saw it in the middle when I don't know if he was like at a check cashing place or what, and then he turns around and it's a preacher. He's like, you can only change your ways through God or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's just like, he walks away, but obviously like with a damn that hit me. I can't say that right in front of you. How to walk away.
Yeah, and and there's no telling how many millions of people right now, are across the world are going through things, right? And sometimes it just takes a song to help. He's a witness to that. It took a song to help pull him out of it. So I'm very grateful for that. Thankful.
Yes, sir. So given that, man, what advice would you say that? Well, what advice would you give upcoming songwriters right now so that they can network and not just limit themselves? You know what I mean? Because like that, it came from somebody singing the song as a demo. That maybe somebody would have approached you, hey, can I do that? Maybe you would have said no. In today's time, people probably would have said no. Like, no, I'm not giving you that song.
Yeah. Well, you definitely got to cover yourself, But I would say for these upcoming songwriters, write as much as you can. One thing that you can't get discouraged. You can't get discouraged about, because, like, on some of the things I've stated earlier about living in those times, paycheck to paycheck, and didn't have the money to go to Nashville and network and try to write. It don't cost money for you to get that pencil and paper. So I guess to speak more on that, a couple of weeks ago, I got to meet John Rich, the lead singer of Big and Rich, was done a show in Albuquerque, and after the show, I got to meet. I went back to his bus and got to hang out with him for a few minutes and talk to him. And I've never met him, and I've always loved his songs, man. He's a great performer, but he is a heck of a songwriter too, man. He wrote most of Jason Aldean's first album, everything pretty much. Redneck Woman, most everything Gretchen has out, he's done. Plus all kind of songs for other artists too. Huge songwriter and very good. And John's a ball of energy. Man, he's a fireball, man. So the way that he is on stage and running around and talking, he's the kind of person, whenever you're having a conversation with him, he's up in your face. He's one-on-one, and he's letting you know exactly what's on his mind and how he's feeling. And he actually mentioned, I saw on a older podcast that he was on, that he said the same thing, that's where I got that from, was whenever he was in Nashville and struggling as a songwriter and trying to get things going, and he was discouraged because he couldn't get in the door to meet this person, or this person wasn't replying back to his email, this person wasn't calling him back, he just said, you know what, he just got his paper and pencil, because you ain't got to get in touch with nobody, you ain't got to send nobody an email, you ain't got to have no money to write a song. Mm-hmm. So he just started writing. Just started writing as much as he could. And then once he got those songs written and recorded in the studio, a lot of those songs went on to become some of his biggest stuff. So don't get discouraged if you just not getting the feedback or the communication that you feel like you need. Hey, just get that pen and paper out, man, and just start writing songs. And if you think the best song that you have wrote up to this day, try to top it. I'm gonna top it. I'm gonna write one better. So always be striving to do better than what you have already.
Now, earlier we were talking about the process behind when you wrote Me, right? And the conversation that y'all had prior to writing it. How much of your writing would you say stems from you having to tap into a vulnerable place to get your feelings out, as opposed to, hey, I'm writing this with going commercial in mind?
So it's all your mindset, right? I write more songs if it's just me, more about personal things. Maybe not personal that I'm going through, but I kind of put myself in other people's position. You may be going through something that I know about, and then I write a song about it. I put myself in your position, and then I write what would I do or how I'm feeling in your position, right? And I had a friend that came over to the house one night. I haven't seen him in a long time, man, and he pulled up, and he got out of the truck, and you can tell he'd been drinking a little bit, and he's like, "She left me." I said, "Well, I ain't seen him, man, in a while. I didn't know who his girlfriend was at the time." And I said, "She left you?" And he said, "Yeah, she left me." So anyway, we got to talking, and I said, "Well, tell me about it, man." And he told me that just the weekend before, a couple other friends of ours, I guess he'd been kind of a hermit there for a while, and some friends of ours got him out, and they went down to the local bar, and he told them, he said, "Hey, ride around the parking lot, and let's just see if a car is there, and that will determine if I'm going to go in or not, And he said, sure enough, they rode around the parking lot, and there was a car right there on the second row. So after he left, as soon as he left, I just went right over and got my guitar out, man. I wrote a song about it, and it was called "I Will," and it starts out, some of the opening lines is, it's Friday night. I think I ride down to the bar, I suck around the parking lot just to see if I see her car, And then after I went to Nashville and recorded it, I sent it to him, and he called me. He said, "Man, I ain't never telling you nothing else again as long as I live."
You put my business out there.
Yeah.
Nah, man, it'd be like it's a beautiful story. You know what I mean? Like basically, you painted it, and I don't know. Maybe now he hears it and he hears it differently. You know, because it's like definitely like some pain in there or whatever. But you
Oh,
grow
it
from
worked
it.
out for him. He went on and married, and he's got a good wife and a good life. And but yeah, back to what you were saying. And it all depends too. You know, whenever you have songwriting sessions set up, you kind of sometimes they'll come in with a theme, or you come in. Everybody come in with some ideas. Always show up with an idea for something. Don't ever go to a songwriting session with somebody and don't have anything, to write about. Especially if you're writing with somebody that's had a lot of, that's been very successful at writing songs. You need to be giving them the idea because they've already had their success. They shouldn't be giving you the idea, especially if you are not, if you hadn't really made it yet. They're not going to give you their best ideas. They're going to give you their next A-list songwriter that's got as many number one hits as they do their ideas. They're not going to give it to you. So, come to the table prepared and ready. Always have a plan B, C, D, and E. If they don't like this, we do this. If they don't like that, we do this. If they don't like that, let's try this. And if they don't like that, and then y'all get together and then y'all start breaking things down like, me and Jimbo did that day.
Well, we're about to get ready to wrap up, but is there any projects right now that you're particularly excited about that you would like to speak on?
Yeah, two. One is yours. One is ours. Ladies Man. My man right here hooked me up, done a jam up recording session of Ladies Man, him and Pat and Coco and Primo and the crew. And I'm in town this weekend. We're going to shoot some video tomorrow. And I tell you, man, I played that song. I just really don't know what to do. Primo does a great job on it, and it may work out where everything works out for Primo, and we ain't got to worry about it, right? But I played it for some people in Nashville that's in the business, that's up in the business, and they like, dude, man, I like this song. I don't know what to do with it, but I like it, And so that's all I need to hear.
Yeah, well, it stays as a clip for somebody,
that's
ready to shoot
all I
it.
need to hear was that. So we have that project going on, and then talk about how things, come to be. About 10 months ago, I sent and this falls back to when I was mentioning Roger Murrah earlier. Mm-hmm. Well, Roger and this guy are very good friends and have written a buttload of songs together. His name is Keith Stegall, okay? Keith is not only a great songwriter, he's a legendary Grammy Award-winning producer. He's produced every song, every record on Alan Jackson. He's co-wrote half of Alan Jackson's songs with him, Don't Rock the Jukebox and all those songs. That's just a few. The list, he's probably had 30 or 40 number one songs. I mean, from different people. Just great songwriter, man. Discovered so much talent, new people, the Zach Brown Band, the list goes on and on. Well, it's kind of like I did with Roger, man. I got his email, and I sent him an email, and I said, hey, I told him who I was, and hey, can I get your permission to send you a song? And he's like, yeah. He wrote me back. I didn't think he'd ever write me back, and he did. And he was like, hey, yeah, send me a couple of songs. So I sent him some songs, and he replied back. And about one of the particular songs I sent him, he said, I really like this song. Well, I didn't hear nothing from him I think I sent that last August. And about 2 weeks ago, I got an email, and he said, Brian, he said, send me a lyric sheet to your song because I'm cutting it this week on the artist I'm working with. So I was like, what? So I said, yes, sir. I went in right there, man. In 2 minutes, I typed that lyric sheet up and hit send it to him. And I told him, I said, keep me posted, when you get it done. I'd like to hear it.
It's brewing right now.
It's brewing. And I feel real good about it, man, because reason for it, I already knew who Keith was. But I started really dipping into podcasts that he was on and interviews and stuff and learning more about him. And you know, a lot of people call him the song master. One guy in the music business called him because he's had so much success on the songs that he's produced. And I'm like, you know, here I am. I'm not in Nashville. I'm not a big player. I'm not in the, you know, the everyday routine of networking in Nashville. And he is surrounded by A-list songwriter. I mean, he has got the pick of the litter of songs, right? I mean, from the best of the best. And then I ain't heard from him in 10 months. And for him to reach back out to me and say, I'm cutting your song, then I have a really good feeling about it because it tells me he likes the song.
Yeah, 10 months he's been sitting on it. He's
Been sitting
pinned
on
somewhere.
it. And so I'm very excited about it, man. Bradley Gaskins is the guy that's the artist. They having CMA week this week. CMA Fest is going on. I think he's going to be at the Opry in July. He's playing the Opry. And so we'll see what happens, man. Just the start of hopefully going to be a busy year, upcoming year.
Yeah, the next half of the year.
Yeah.
That'd be dope. Any last things you want to plug in for yourself or Yellowgrass Music?
Yeah, hey, just you can go to yellowgrassmusic.com. My website can stream some songs I have on there, find out a little bit about myself. Any upcoming songwriters, hey, send it to me. Let me check it out. Let me hear it. I'll give you my honest feedback, and if it's something that I would like to talk more with you about, I reach back out to you, and we'll go from there. And don't get discouraged, you know, just like Ladies Man was talking earlier. I wrote that song 15 years ago, and here we are. Actually, the song that Keith Stegall is recording of mine right now, I wrote that song a few years back. It's just been sitting there. Now here it is. It's coming back to the table. So, hey, don't get discouraged. You know, there's a time for everything. I'm a firm believer in that. There's a time and a place for things to happen, and maybe right now it may be your time, but it may not be God's time for it to happen. So just stay focused, stay true to it, keep pounding the pavement, and don't give up.
Yes, sir. Hey, y'all can't say that I haven't hooked y'all up. If you have any questions, make sure y'all tap in. Please do not just hit him with a DM with a bunch of nonsense. But if y'all have anything written that y'all want him to check out, he already said the inbox is open. Get some feedback. Be ready for some constructive criticism, but know that it's coming with years of experience. This isn't just us like hating on your song or anything like that. But again, I'm out of West Houston Studios. This is Brian Lisenby with Yellowgrass Music. We're signing out. If you guys need studio time, make sure y'all tap in. Take care.